During this section, I'm going to show you a number of methods of creating a page for your website. And in this tutorial, I'll start off by showing you a few methods of creating a basic page. And then as we progress over the next few tutorials, we'll look at building more complex pages. So I'll start off now by showing you 2 or 3 different ways of creating a blank opening page. One way of doing this is by coming over to your Files panel and then select the top level of your site so far. So by clicking here, then I can right-click and then simply click on that top option, New File. And once I do, I now see this new file created, and it's called Untitled, followed by the standard suffix of HTML. However, you'll have noticed by using this method, we don't actually see the page open. We only see that it's been created, and therefore we are reliant on whatever we've set up in our preferences to dictate the characteristics of the page. That doesn't mean we can't open it. Double-clicking on our file of course opens it up over here on the left-hand side of our user interface in this main area. And you'll notice once you do, then right up here on the left, we now see this page, untitled.html, and there's its tab. If we want to close this page but not delete it, then all we need to do is click on that cross there. OK, and that removes it from view. As I've said, it doesn't delete it. We still see it over here in our Files panel within our site's tree structure. Now, in fact, I don't want to keep this file, so if I want to remove it, I can right-click on it, run down to Edit, and then choose this option, Delete. Dreamweaver asks me, am I really sure I want to delete this? Well, I am, so I'm going to click on Yes. OK then, so as we've just seen, that's the method of creating a page, but without it opening automatically, and with all the page characteristics reliant on what we've set in our preferences. Let's now go ahead and look at a different way of creating a page, and we can do this by coming over to our splash screen, this welcome screen, and then going over to our middle column, the Create New column. Well, you can see right at the top, the first option is HTML. So if I wanted to create a new HTML document, all I need to do is click on here. Notice this time though, once we do this, our page automatically opens up. It is still reliant on the preferences that are set. However, as we can see, it does open the page. And once more, we can see our document tab up here, Untitled 2. But do notice, over in our Files panel, in the tree structure, this time this document hasn't been saved. We've not created one, all we've done is we've opened one ready for us to save it. And until we save it, then it won't feature as part of our site structure so far. Let me close this one down as well. I'll click on the tab cross here. Now, as you probably know, an HTML page is the basic building block for any website really. However, I do want to point something out that you can do within this Create New column. If I roll down to the second option, CSS, and then click, then what we now see is a CSS document, which in effect is just a text document that we populate with text that is essentially code that Dreamweaver understands and then subsequently applies that text, that coded text, to any HTML page that we create. So really, when we are creating a modern website, we are doing 2 things. We create an HTML document that holds all the resources, i.e. the photographs or the illustrations or the navigation and all the textual content, but really in its most basic sense. And it's any related CSS file that our HTML document understands and subsequently uses to apply any formatting or styling to our basic HTML page. So really the 2 work hand in hand. That's not to say you can't just simply open up an HTML document and start creating some content. You can, but by today's modern standards, the resulting page won't really look all that good. Anyway, let me delete this. I'll click on the cross here to close our CSS file. And then finally, let me show you this other method. If we come up to our menu bar and click on File and then drop down to New, then as we can see, by using this method, we get a little bit more control over what we set up. And this new document dialog opens up, providing us with many options. It's set out into 4 columns. On the left here, we get to choose what sort of document we want to create. We'll start off by looking at the top option. We want to create a blank page. And then moving to the right, we see we are given further options in relation to the page type out of these 12 options. I'm going to select the top option, HTML. Remember, HTML is the most basic building block of any page. And then moving to the right, now that I've chosen HTML as my page type, well, I'm offered 3 different layout choices. My top option is none, and if I were to create this page now, then the resulting page would be completely blank, in pretty much the same way as we've just seen with the other options a few moments ago when we created documents. Now you'll notice our fourth column at the top here actually gives us a preview of what this page is going to look like. And because we've chosen none as our layout, well, of course we see no preview. There is nothing to look at. It's just a blank document. Now, just before I look at the other two options within layout, let me just point this out to you down here. Here, where it says doc type, it's set by default to HTML5. And at the time of authoring this course for you, HTML5 is pretty much the standard of any sort of web page at present. Don't get too bogged down with the definition of HTML5 at the moment. However, if you do want to change the doc type to something else, then click on this drop reveal arrow here, and there you'll see various options. Now, as I say, at the moment, I would advise you sticking to HTML5. So from this stage, if we were to create this document, we would just simply be opening up an HTML file. However, if you've already got a CSS text file written and you want to attach those CSS rules to this document that we are about to create, then if you come down here where it says attach CSS file and then click on this button, attach style sheet, then this resulting attach external style sheet dialog will open up. Now, because we've not created any CSS styles at the moment, I'm going to cancel this, but it's here should you need it. So I'll click on cancel. Right, that's all we need to do then when we want to create a blank document. However, do notice these are the two layout options. Once you select any of these, you are going to see a preview over here. For example, this second one down, 2-column fixed, right sidebar, header and footer. If I select that, then in my preview over here, then we can see exactly that. We are about to create a new document, but Dreamweaver is giving us a helping hand by creating a basic structure for us. We've got a header going across the top, and that might be populated eventually with a company logo or some navigation. And running horizontally at the bottom, we have what's known as a footer. And a footer generally tends to get used, certainly with corporate websites anyway. They generally get used by including a company address or phone number, or even further links that your navigation at the top doesn't include. You don't have to follow that convention, I'm just simply pointing it out. You'll also notice with this layout, we have what's known as a right sidebar, and that's this area just to the right. And this right sidebar area will be populated with content that is distinct to the main area to the left. Now, if you think you want a little bit more flexibility, then choose the third layout option, whereby the description here informs you exactly what you are going to get. I'll select it, and there you can see in the preview what this basic structure will look like. Right, for the moment I'm going to choose none, our top option. And should I click on create, then of course what we are going to see is a simple blank document, which means we will have to write all the relevant code, all the relevant CSS code, to make our HTML content page become what is known as flexible or fluid, in that it will adapt its size to whatever browser is being used to view the particular website. With that in mind, if we come back over to the left to our first column, you can choose this second option, Fluid Grid Layout. Once you do select this option, then you can see that Dreamweaver is going to create 3 separate types of page. Or certainly it's going to create one page and link to this something called media queries, so that the resulting finished page responds in a fluid way, dependent on what device is being used to view your particular site, either a mobile, a tablet, or on a desktop. Moving down to our third option, Starter Templates, then you can see Dreamweaver provides you with some mobile starter templates. I'm going to leave that. Additionally, our last option, Site Templates, well, at the moment this will only open up any previous websites that I've set up. Perhaps I want to use a template that I've already created using one of these previous sites. Well, I don't for this course. So I'll go back up to our top option, blank page, and I'll choose HTML with our top option there in layout as none. Now, just before I actually do create this page, let me come down to this button right down here at the bottom left, Preferences. Of course, this opens up our Preferences dialog, and with our new document category selected, then you can see the default document is set at the top here in this default document field to be HTML. So whenever we create a page, as we have done at the beginning of this tutorial, because this is set at HTML, that's why those pages that we created earlier on were automatically created as an HTML page. If you want to change that option, then click on this drop reveal arrow and then you can see all these different options that you can choose from. Perhaps you want your default created page to open up as a PHP file. I'm going to change it back to HTML, and then I'll run right down here to the bottom right and click on OK. OK then, I'm ready. I'm going to click Create down here at the bottom right of our new document dialog. And once I do, of course, our new HTML document has been created. It's not been saved as part of our site yet. All we've done is created this blank document. So if I do want to use this as part of my site, I need to save it. So I'll come up to File and roll down to our Save option here. Now I could leave it called Untitled 4. However, I do want to give this a better name. And the name that you give your opening page of any website, somewhat paradoxically, is called Index. I say paradoxically because Index always features at the back of a book. Well, in the case of a website, it's the first page. So I'm going to delete Untitled 4 and I'll rename this Index. And once you have named it as Index, we simply need to save this within our project file. And once you do navigate to your project folder, all you need to do is come over here to the bottom right hand corner and click on Save. OK, it's done. You'll notice now our tab up here at the top left indicates our new name, index.html. And because we've saved it, it now features as part of our site over here in the Files panel within our site tree structure. And because we've created a new page and saved it, then down here in the Properties panel, we can now access various functions that we couldn't access before prior to creating a page. And you can see our Properties panel is comprised of two separate functions, HTML, and if I click on HTML here, then I see all these various options. I'm not going to go through all these at the moment, we'll leave that until a little bit later. I just simply wanted to show you how this works, now that we have created a page and saved it. And our second button option here on the left in the Properties panel is CSS. I'll select that. Consequently, we now see these various operations or functions that we can use to either instill or adapt within our document. Remember how I said earlier on that modern web pages these days comprise of two separate parts. HTML, which relates to all the content, and CSS, which relates to the styling of the page. Right, now that we've created our first page, I'm going to finish up here, so I'll see you in a moment.